Good evening, Don Mecoy here. I'm the managing editor at the Oklahoman, Oklahoman.com, and we have been covering elections tonight, and it was a really interesting evening, even though there weren't a great number of races, but there was some cool stuff that happened and some surprises as well. And I'm joined tonight with a couple of our political correspondents, Kayla Branch and Carmen Foreman. Good evening. I'm going to start with you, Kayla. Let's talk a little bit about the Oklahoma County Sheriff's race. We had the GOP runoff, which included the incumbent, P.D. Taylor. And tell us what happened.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for 100% of the precincts to report, but right now the challenger, Tommy Johnson, a Norman police officer, he's ahead with over 9,000 votes, so it's looking like he is going to have defeated the current sheriff, P.D. Taylor, for the Republican candidacy for the Oklahoma County Sheriff, which this is, I think, a surprise for some people. Incumbents usually have that edge. And Sheriff P.D. Taylor had several endorsements from other county officials, from, football coach Barry Switzer. There were a lot of folks who were pushing for him. He had raised quite a bit of money. But Tommy Johnson really pushed his message of a fresh perspective and new ideas for challenges that the sheriff's office has been facing. And apparently that really resonated with voters.
Well, and since he appears to be the presumptive Republican candidate, that sort of leads us into a sort of historic moment here in Oklahoma County history. Talk about that a little bit.
It does. So for the first time ever, Oklahoma County is poised to have a black sheriff. Tommy Johnson is a black man, and the Democratic candidate, Waylon Cubitt, who is a longtime Oklahoma City police officer, he is also a black man. And this has never happened before in Oklahoma County's history. And I think that that's another reason why folks were paying such close attention to this race in particular. And it's something that the candidates know that people are paying attention to. And, we're coming out of a summer with a lot of political activism around police brutality and around the Black Lives Matter movement. And there's been a lot of recent protesting at Oklahoma County on those same topics. And so I think voters saw this as an opportunity to kind of make a bigger political statement in a local election.
Well, and it is interesting too. For me, I'm someone who's been around Oklahoma County for a long time, and P.D. Taylor has been around in Oklahoma law enforcement for a long, long time. Before he became sheriff, he worked in the Oklahoma City Police Department for many, many years. He was the head of the FOP for a long time, back when I was covering cops in the 1980s, forever ago. So he's been around for a long time. I think he's in his late 70s. He's about 77 or something.
He's 74. 74. And Tommy Johnson
Sorry,
is 31.
PD's 74. I take it back. But he's had a long career in local law enforcement. He's really well known around here. So that does show you that people were looking for apparently something new. And it also comes at a time that the sheriff's office has kind of changed with jail taking over.
Right. Yeah. The county sheriff's office no longer manages the county jail, which is, like you said, a huge change. And so Johnson has really pushed and said, we want to increase the patrolling in unincorporated areas of the county. I want to increase fiscal responsibility. I want to build partnerships. And his upcoming Democratic challenger, Waylon Cubitt, has said some of those same things, but he's really taking more of the side of wanting to increase mental health support for county residents, wanting to increase transparency, and then also wanting to implement criminal justice reform measures at the sheriff's agency level. And so it'll be interesting to see going forward what that race looks like between, again, the first two black men to face each other in a race like this for Oklahoma County Sheriff.
All right, great. Thanks, Kayla. Let me turn to Carmen now. And I guess there were some legislative races where we had some voters out in the state who also might have been looking for some change.
Yeah, there were 3 state senators on the ballot today and 3 incumbents, and it appears they were all going to lose to their challengers. In closest to our area is Senator Ron Sharp, who's out in Shawnee. And he got into a world of hurt this election cycle. He's been a very vocal critic of Epic charter schools. And Epic sent out an email to their folks basically saying, don't criticizing Ron Sharp and reminding people to vote on Tuesday. and Shane Jett, who was a former legislator and who defeated Senator Sharp. He seemed more amenable to, supporting public school options as well as, homeschool options, charter school. He was more of a friend to the school choice movement than Ron Sharp was. Oh, I got a friend, you guys, but I'm gonna shove him away. So two other state senators lost as well on Tuesday. We had Senator Larry Boggs and Senator Paul Scott. Senator Larry Boggs was sort of an interesting race because he was running against Warren Hamilton, who was a self-proclaimed abortion abolitionist, if you will. And they believe in criminalizing abortion. And with his victory, he's very likely to be the only abolitionist in the state Senate. And that really sets up sort of this fight between Senate leadership and, most of the Republicans, all of the Republicans in the Senate consider themselves anti-abortion or pro-life, but that's often seen as different from the abolitionist movement. Anyways, now I'm getting bogged down, but it'll make for a weird 4 years, an interesting 4 years that could result in a lot of fireworks in the state Senate.
Which we don't mind, we're journalists and we tend to root for chaos. So
Exactly.
That's fine. But yeah, there were interesting issues in both those races that clearly struck a chord with some people. And it's incumbents have so many built-in advantages. And here in Oklahoma, we see incumbents oftentimes, and you've covered a lot that this election cycle, we had a lot of incumbents that didn't even draw opponents.
Yeah.
So,
I think typically the thinking is when an incumbent lands a runoff race, they're actually less likely to win because whatever name recognition or cash advantage they might have had, if that wasn't enough to have them win the primary outright, then they're probably going to head into the runoff and they're going to be hurting a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it also indicates that there just might be more, galvanized grassroots support for their opponents.
And that kind of holds true in the Oklahoma County sheriff race. We saw in the days leading up to this runoff over $75,000 being poured into the election against current Sheriff P.D. Taylor based on a lot of issues that he had over the last year. And they really pointed to those, a spat that he had with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. And there were mailers and TV ads that were sent out, and it, seemed to have the desired effect.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. All right. It's good to talk about this, and we obviously have a lot of coverage on our website, and we'll have a lot more coming up and in the coming days in the paper. And then of course we'll all get to do this again. This was just the runoff. So we've got the big races coming up next time, which I think we're all looking forward to. And maybe by then we won't all be working from home, but we'll see. I don't know. But it's always nice to see your dog and your cat, and we appreciate that. And all of our viewers, I'm sure, do too. It adds a little spice to it. So
that's true. I can, if we're working from the office, I think we could bring our pets on election day if it makes you feel more comfortable.
Hey, I'm all for it. I've got 5 dogs in my house right now. So
whoa,
only 2 of them belong to me. But hey, anyway, so it's election night. It's always crazy. I'm going to let people go. We're going to get back to work and stay on the Oklahoman.com, pick up the paper. We've got lots of coverage. We have more to come, and we'll break this down in every way you can. And then we'll continue covering it right up into November. So join us there, join us here, and we will see you later. Thank you very much.